All right. Well, it's great to see you guys again. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah.
If you don't
Thank
mind,
you.
would you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you did for Old Wounds?
Yeah, I'm Stephen Hugh Nelson. I directed Old Wounds as well as many other roles.
I'm Erica Nelson, and I helped with a lot of the production stuff, scheduling, props, craft services, all that kind of stuff.
A wild cousins appears.
Anthony, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Anthony.
What did you do on Old Wounds?
What did I do? I guess I was just like the crew.
Yeah, Anthony and I were the
Directing or
crew.
acting. I did everything else.
Hi, I'm Chelsey Grant, and I played Ashley. Woohoo!
Welcome. Well, thank you guys so much. Obviously, we love the film. So I kind of wanted to kick it off with asking about, when people hear found footage, they expect a certain, they have a certain set of expectations. And I think Old Wounds does a really great job of subverting those. Can you kind of tell us about the development of the story, the shoot, everything?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely intentional. I like to take kind of what you expect and then go a different direction. But the movie was really born out of just really wanting to make something, but not having a whole lot to work with. So we went and visited Erica's family at their home, their big, beautiful home in Arkansas. And the moment we pulled up, I was like, wow, that's a horror movie house. I mean that in the best way possible, compliments to your aunt and uncle. But I was like, yeah, we have to do something here. This is too good of a location. So we asked, and they were so gracious in letting us film there for a week or so. And then it just kind of grew out of that and what we had available to us. And so once we brought on Brian and Chelsey, all the pieces started to fall together and they really elevated it.
That's awesome. So the location came first and inspired the story.
Yeah. And we also wanted to be respectful to her family. And so there were certain rules that we kind of had in place because we not everyone is a horror freak like us.
Yeah, they're not really into horror. So there were some restrictions, like not much horror.
Okay.
In a traditional sense.
Right.
Yeah. So we tried to that type of making something that could be creepy or scary, but didn't actually have, blood or killings or anything actually, vicious in nature. So and you know what? I think when you work within limitations, and I think it makes you more creative, and I think it makes the product more original and interesting. Had we just gone the expected route, it could have been cool, but I think it just would have been something we've seen before. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you really gave us something unique here, and you can tell it's a labor of love and a small crew, obviously, and that you guys had a lot of fun making it. It seems like. Do you have any fun stories from set or horror stories? Things that went wrong, things that went really well, unexpectedly. Anything from set you want to share?
I mean, it was fun to hang out with. I feel like so it was just 5 of us, and it's kind of a big ask to be like, hey, Chelsey, Brian, I know you don't know me, but will you fly out to the middle of nowhere and come into the woods and improvise an entire movie? Because that's how we operated. We just had an outline of the major beats, and then we improvised every scene because we wanted it to feel real. We were trying to lean into the strengths of found footage. And so it was great because they just all instantly had this connection. And, I think me and Erica kind of felt like a dad and a mom, very proud. And they were all singing, musical numbers. And we celebrated Anthony's birthday on set.
Aw.
We're driving around in the car, listening to all sorts of music. It was a lot of fun.
That's amazing. I wanted to ask about that because the dialogue was so natural. It really did feel like we were watching just, people interacting. So it was entirely improvised.
Yeah. Chelsey, do you want to speak to some of that?
Yeah. Is that your background?
Sure. My background. I love improv, but it is not my entirety of my background. Otherwise, gosh, that I would have said yes faster because you brought it up, Stephen, and I was like, oh God, just a skeleton, like an outline. I've done a lot of improv work within a character for a stage, for on camera, but I've never done a whole entire thing, especially in the film and narrative world in that way. So yeah, when Stephen called me up, he went through the outline and the character arc and journey, but I remember it was so open as to specifics about the character, how they go through the world, what they look like. I remember Eric and I going over wardrobe together before we started filming. Like everything was really fine tuned to be something that you were excited to not only be able to like dive into, but to play with character wise, because you had to be super incredible, comfortable with everything that came out of your mouth in character, and especially when the stakes get higher and higher and higher, you have to still believe that that's the same person going through it. So I remember getting on a lot of phone calls with Stephen being like, okay, so this and this and this ties back to this. And that's why we were still able to kind of create breadcrumbs throughout the whole thing. If it was fully improv with no outline, no skeleton, I think it would have missed out on the opportunity to really have some deep, interesting characters. But because the skeleton was there, we knew where we were going to go. We just didn't know how we were going to get there. And I think that's the how we were going to get there part was why the dialogue was so visceral, was why the instantaneous energy between characters was so in the moment, because we didn't really have a precursor set dialogue for any of that. So that was beautiful, but it started because we needed to have an incredible amount of trust in the whole team, but also Stephen. And then before every scene, we would kind of go, okay, we know we have to hit that, and we have to end there. Cool. And we would kind of just play around, but then we would just go for it. And so I would say a lot of it was just a huge trust exercise, and a lot of trust, not just in the moment of the scene, but also before and after, asking how things went. How can we fine tune? How can we shrink it down? How can we, lean into me more in this one? You were too nice. Like, give it to me. Like, so that next take really makes sense. And it was just a beautiful thing that it was only 5 cast and crew, but everyone had their hands in so much of the storytelling to make it as natural as possible. So really lucky. We lucked out with the team. But Steve, you did a good job.
Well, I feel like it was because of you and Brian that you lifted me up and elevated me. I give you all the credit in the world, and so grateful for you going on this weird journey with us, and just living and breathing in these moments. But it also really helped too because of the way we shoot. So I'm working on a 4th feature now, using this kind of method that we've developed, where we have kind of short schedules, minimal cast and crew, working off outlines, improvising, and it also allows us to pretty much shoot in order. Most productions have to hop around and schedule based on what's available to them when they have this actor, when they have that location. But because we're so small, we're basically able to shoot in order, which means that they might improvise a really funny moment or something interesting or weird early on that we can then go, hey, we can pay that off later. I think a small example is early on, I go out to Brian's car, Graham's car, and I wake him up, and he immediately starts filming. And he's like, oh, hey, you're going to want to get this. And it's kind of like a comedic moment, like, oh, this guy is so tied to his camera, But then later on in the movie, I go to kick him out. Hey, man, you got to leave. And he does the same thing. Only now it has this undercurrent of like intimidation of like, oh, we've seen this before, but now it's kind of scary. So things like that, that kind of naturally are able to develop and make the characters feel a little more real and lived in.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't imagine how, as an actor, like how much of a blessing that is to shoot in order and be able to build that story and the emotion, throughout the whole production. That's really cool. Thank you. So I wanted to ask about, there's a moment early on when you first get to the house and they go upstairs and there's this sort of like table in the hallway with like this creepy doll and this photo album that has, it looks like kind of a mugshot. And there's like the door we don't open and and it really reminded me of like the cabin in the woods. It was like all of this, like, wait, which one of these is going to be the thing? And I don't know if that was, can you talk about some of the influences on Old Wounds?
Absolutely. Yeah, we were, trying to misdirect the audience and kind of lay red herrings, whether that's, mentioning cryptids and frogman, maybe you think it's going to go that direction. Or, maybe you think it's a haunted house movie or like kind of just keeping the audience on their toes. I mean, the biggest influences would be Creep. I just absolutely love Creep. I mean, Mark Duplass is one of my greatest inspirations. Speak No Evil, that kind of social, awkward, just really kind of unsettling, but in a day-to-day like sort of way. Where you could kind of like be like, well, he's acting weird, but he hasn't really done anything wrong. So, but Erica, I'd love for you to talk about maybe the photos or where we got some of those, or yeah.
Yeah. So it worked out well that those are kind of red herrings, but we actually ran an Indiegogo campaign to help fund our movie. So a lot of those were actually perks, like have your picture in the movie, things like that. So that's what a lot of those pictures are. A couple of names. We had some art in the movie from one of our contributors. So that's pretty cool.
That's super cool. It's a really great creative use of the crowdfunding. How was that experience, like the crowdfunding? How would you do it again? What did you learn from that?
Yeah, it was a really good experience. It was our first time doing it, so we didn't really know how it was going to go. But yeah, we were able to fund our movie, so it worked out really well, and we're actually going to be doing it again soon for a TV series that's coming up. So
that's great.
That.
And yeah, I love being able to interact with people and kind of, start building, interest, a fan base early on and get people involved. And I just love collaborating. I just love people coming together, lifting each other up, everyone using their talents. And that piece of art she mentioned, our friend Lauren Count, she made this wreath that's really witchy and interesting looking. And so, she was able to contribute that to the movie. So we got the benefit of her beautiful art and she got the benefit of getting that art out there in our movie. So yeah, we're always looking for opportunities like that.
Well, very cool. Okay, finally, Stephen, I have to ask you, what was it like directing yourself? You wrote, directed, starred in this. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was fun. I think I really did fall back on everyone around me. I felt comfortable that Chelsey and Brian could help me hone in on a performance. And then, having Erica and Anthony there as well, they've been on sets and I can trust them to be open and honest. There were several moments where, I did personally have a little bit of frustration with myself just because maybe like late at night, we've been shooting all day and, you're trying to juggle so much. So there were a few moments where I had to, do a few more takes than normal. But yeah, how about you, Brian Villalobos? How's life? How you doing? He's in the airport.
So man,
this is a found footage movie.
Yeah, Brian is heading to my house so he can join in on this movie we're all on right now. So I've got the guest room ready and he's obviously just meandering through the airport.
Hey,
Let's get
him. Anthony, what movie are we working on right now? Is it okay to say?
Tell us about the next project.
We're working on Frogman Returns, and I just picked up Carson from the airport. Another found footage legend. So this is very strange. I feel like we're making a found footage movie right now.
Yeah. Brian, how you doing, man?
I can't tell if I'm yelling or not. I'm in an airport, as you can see. Hi, everybody. Hey.
Welcome.
Cousins is driving. I'm like walking through a public area. I was totally prepared for this. It was a great experience. What was the question?
If you have anything to add about the improv nature of the, improving basically an entire feature or, writing for yourself, you want to talk about that experience?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think I was coming into a situation where the three of the four of these wonderful people, sorry, already had like they knew each other and they had this experience doing it before. And I've done a fair amount of improv, and I feel pretty comfortable just making things up. But I think I don't know. I think the soundbite answer is that it took a lot of trust, but like, I think that trust was established really, really quickly, at least on my end. I mean, I was kind of like, I'm going into the wilds of Arkansas with 3-4 people I've never met. And like, if I don't get murdered, like maybe this will be something cool. And it was, which is great. But no, like everyone was immediately kind and collaborative, like above and beyond kind. Just like these people here are just really, really, really kind, generous artists and people. And I don't know. I got thrown into the mix somehow, and I'm really, really grateful.
Well, it worked out well. You guys are all coming back together to do it again. So
Right,
that's
right.
great. Okay, I do have to ask about now that I know that you essentially improv the whole thing, and were there ever any takes that took you guys somewhere that you were like, oh, we never thought of this, but we have to follow it, or the opposite, oh gosh, that is going to be a dead end, and had to be completely different in the final cut of the movie?
I think we were pretty on track for the most part, unless y'all can think of a specific moment. But it was fun because we would just get to riff within the scene. For example, when Brian and I, after we were rocking out to our high school band, we're just sitting there at the table, and we're just throwing stuff at each other. He's talking about some teacher, and it's all just invented, and I don't know what he's going to say, and I'm just have to pretend as if this is a shared history of memories that we've had for 25 years. So it was like,
remember all those terrible things you did? Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you were a really terrible person in high school. Yeah.
Yeah. You sold all that poison milk to school children. It was so weird. And you're like, no, it's part of my character now. Great.
But I think because of the shooting in order, we were able to kind of keep it on track and adjust. We did. There were certain moments because early on, when me and Ashley, Chelsey, gives me a tour of the house. The initial way we played that. Well, here, Chelsey, why don't you tell us about that?
Just the initial walkthrough?
Yeah, and how we adjusted, because when we did a reshoot.
Right. Well, I think a lot of the reshoots stemmed from trying to boil things down to what we thought was playful and fun and also helpful for creating like a little bit of a depth in character and stuff to be able to come back to later. But I mean, now I'm going to pitch it right back to Steven. I guess I was going to say, what was the main impetus for saying, let's go back? Because to be honest, like there's so much of the home that wasn't shown, but we had gotten a take where we had touched as much as we possibly could. So, I mean, Steven, what was your inkling, I think, as a director? It feels like forever ago, of why we were like, ooh, let's redo this, but like shrink it down.
Yeah, for sure. And once again, shooting in order, this allows us to kind of do real reshoots in real time rather than having to be like, oh, hey, 6 months from now, let's get everyone back. We could adjust and be like, hey, this scene's not working. Why is it not working? And so specifically that, we initially played her as more mysterious, kind of darker. And it ended up being way too like, she was too closed off, and it was like, why are they together? And so it just really didn't work. And we were trying different things, which is all part of the process, which is why I love, the freedom with this is you can say anything knowing, we can edit, we can take out anything that doesn't work, which is very freeing. It gives you that kind of freedom. And so we were trying things where we were like, didn't know how much backstory the audience needed. We were talking about the house itself and why it's kind of weird. And we're getting into like the history of the house and adding on to rooms and why they added on rooms. And then eventually it ended up being like, no one really cares, right? Like it's a cool, creepy house, we don't need like the PowerPoint presentation and, you know, who the carpenter was or anything. So that was stuff that we were able to adjust. But then, so when we did the reshoot, we had her be, you know, her wonderful self and bring out the more like positive light in the character. And I'm so grateful we were able to do that because so far, a lot of the feedback we've gotten is that they, you know, audience does respond to their relationship and the characters early on, which is so important because it takes a while until we really amp up the horror and until Graham is introduced. So you have to be on this journey with them. And so I'm so grateful we were able to kind of tweak that and be like, oh, okay, they love each other. This is a sweet couple.
Am I crazy? Sorry, but because you asked that question about like things going like off the rails or like readjusting. It was a while ago. I don't remember that happening much at all. Like, and it's a credit, I think, to Steve and Erica's planning, and they had these beats kind of worked out. But then like, I feel like we would kind of get together and be like, this is the scene. We'll do this, and then like do it once, and then kind of come back together and be like, what do we think? And then like maybe shave a little off. But I'm crazy, but I feel like
so well.
Yeah, well, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of like, I can't remember a moment where we were like, oh man, we've really lost the thread. We really need to like come back around. I feel like everything was like, yeah, that was pretty much it. We could do this, and oh, now that we know this will happen, we can kind of whatever. But like, I feel like it was mostly kind of whittling down something that already kind of worked. And I don't know. Again, I was just walking into something being like, oh, whatever. But like, I think you guys planned it out well, and everyone like, and Chelsey was able to obviously play with anything that was thrown out, and Cousins was there just like being like, I think that, I mean, it was really just like this kind of really nice collaborative kind of brain trust that like always kind of kept us on track.
Yeah. You know,
I was going to say,
go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say there was the ashes scene where they dump out your bag and the ashes fall on the floor. That was not planned. Like we didn't expect it to go flying. So they kind of had to roll with it. We were like, this is the only take now. So luckily they got it.
I was going to say the same thing, Erica. I was like, the only one is I remember we did run through that a few times, like not high energy, not in character, but like, okay, then I'm going to your backpack and I'm grabbing this out and we're going to rip and back and then it's your piece. And then I have to exit and you get cool. But my finger just dug poor Erica and all of her work.
Is that what happened?
My finger dug way too deep in the bag. And when it slightly pulled back, it just went. And so in my head, I'm staying as character as much as I can, but I'm also going, Mayday, Mayday. This is our only take. Our reset's going to take at least an hour if we need to. But I don't know. It feels good. And I'm just like, I'm mostly just mortified. Like, oh my gosh, which works for the character. Like someone's dead mom is on the ground. Yeah. But also like the fact that we said, oh, maybe it'll make a plop and some dust from, you know, what Art did, and it looked really good. It sounds so weird, but like it had the look of what it needed to, but we didn't know that it was just gonna like, I could feel my finger and my nail dig into it with those like dark green moody nails I had. I was like, oh shit, pardon, but this scene's gonna go whether or not we want it to. And then after it finished, it was great because then it was truly, we didn't get anything else, and it was just Brian and Steven staying in character, and I dipped. And then when I saw the actual cut of the movie is when I got to see everything else that happened after, because I just got out of their way and let them finish. But like, we didn't end up having to, you know, redo it. It worked in our favor.
Yeah. That's such an effective moment too. I mean, I just gasped. I mean, that's incredible to hear that was like as much of a shock to you all as it was to the audience.
100%. Yeah. Like as an actor, like, trying to be like, I'm sad about this, to have that happen unexpectedly, like, yeah, could go up, but it was also like, what a gift, because I'm like, oh, now I have that to react to. Like, that just happened.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Complete credit to them for staying in the moment and staying in the character. And, you know, I'll be honest, like, we didn't really have many issues. We did have a lot of happy accidents or things that worked in our favor. And you know, and working with that kind of budget, you just have to go with what you're given and just kind of adjust. I will say, you know, it would not have worked without my lovely wife and partner. Yeah, Erica, why don't you go ahead and just tell us about some of the planning? I mean, you planned our wedding and you planned our movie.
I mean, yeah, it was my first movie to plan, really. So I just kind of winged it, and it worked out well. I'm glad we had a very small cast, and we got super lucky that we had Brian and Chelsey, because, yeah, and Anthony as well.
No, it came together so well.
Thanks. I did craft services as well, and that was new to me. And one day it was like Chelsea's climax, like, of her character, where she's like in the barn, and they were in there for hours, and I was trying to cook everyone dinner. They hadn't eaten in a while, and I was cooking lasagna, and it was like, I think it's supposed to cook for like an hour, but my aunt and uncle's oven wasn't working correctly, or like one of them was and one of them wasn't, so I kept switching it back and forth, and it was like 4 hours and it still hadn't cooked at all. It was like the middle of the night, and they're all like dusty coming down, and didn't get to eat till way later. Sorry, guys.
It was worth it, though.
Yeah.
It was worth it. If it was done earlier, I would have had to stop being sad, had a great idea, and go back to being sad. It was just better to make me ride it out. And the guys were on the journey too. We were all just dusty in a barn. Who wants to stop? It was good. It was perfect.
You stay in character.
And the role that was really burnt. Remember, you felt bad about that, but I'm like, no, Ashley would give Graham the burnt roll.
Yeah, it worked out perfect for the scene.
Meal, and it's like just black. Like,
I love that moment. It's so good.
You know, so
great.
All of those elements of kind of everyone's personalities, like there's parts of Anthony too, where you can tell stylistically when he was giving us some information, like parts come in and then it's like, ooh, you can see when Erica's yummy food is good. And you can see how, Ashley serves up, Steve's plate versus Graham's plate, and that relationship. It's cool how much of us have like seeped into the whole entire movie.
And I like that just speaks to, having a positive mindset, especially on lower budgets, where we always try to reframe everything that happens into, okay, this is a negative. How do we make this a positive? And so there's a perfect example where she accidentally burned a roll, and it was like, she was a little upset. Oh, dang, sorry, I messed it up. And it was like, no, we can use this and turn it into a joke and make it something. So it's just about having that mindset and just not letting yourself get off track or get defeated.
Yeah, I love that. I like that you refer to it all as happy accidents, because it sounds like it all, worked in your favor because the movie turned out the way it did. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go, I've got to ask, who is the guy in the woods with the mask that Graham sees when they're on the hike the first time? Because we know where Graham is and we know where you are, we think.
Sure. That is me.
Okay.
So I wanted it. Originally, I did an edit where you see so Brian walks away, and then you see me at the top of the mountain with Chelsey, and then Brian sees the sackhead guy, and it is me the whole time. But I was going to edit it in a way that threw you off, and then I thought that's very unfair. You're lying to the audience by readjusting like the timeline, right? Because then it's not fair. And so I was like, I have to keep it accurate to the reality. And so basically Steve walks away, and he has in his backpack, he has the costume. So he throws that on to go mess with Graham, and then takes it off and goes up to see her. And that's why at the top he's so sweaty. And she's like, oh, you're so sweaty, and it's like, oh yeah, I just had to climb up this mountain. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So it was always going to be I guess this is part of our thing that we do. We just like play with each other and film these things and see where it goes in character.
Yeah. And that was born out of the very first feature that Erica and I shot. I convinced her that we went on our honeymoon to Iceland. And I said, hey, we've been wanting to shoot a feature. Why don't we do something, me and you, we'll do a found footage, and we'll just shoot it on our honeymoon. because that's, great production value. It's the trip's already paid for. There's mountains and waterfalls and just this beautiful scenery. So we went and shot a feature, which will hopefully be coming out next year. But
what's it called?
While we were doing it, it's called My Honeymoon in Iceland.
Okay.
And then, yeah, for sure. And so on that trip, there were a few times when I wanted to get a genuine reaction from her. So I actually scared her without warning her in advance, which don't do that, directors. Oh, I guess only if you're married to the lead actress. But
Steve will do anything to make his horror movies.
Yeah. And so I thought, what if I amped that up to 11? What if I took that too far? And that's kind of what Steve is doing in Old Wounds.
Yeah.
Kind of a jerk move. No.
It's a good rule of thumb in any marriage, I think. What if I took things too far? Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. Do you want to is there something new you're working on that you want people to look out for, or any plans to release Old Wounds? I'm not sure how far you are in your journey with it.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a distributor interested that hopefully will get it out there by the end of the year. So we're just kind of waiting on more news from that. We have the honeymoon movie, and then we shot another found footage feature with the same method at a music festival last summer. And that was me and Erica, Anthony, and our friends Rebecca and Joe. And so we did a whole kind of like secret feature running around. So we'll see, we're really excited to see how that turns out. We've got a TV series that we're developing called Final Transmissions, which is kind of a throwback. It's set in 1999. We kind of a host, kind of like Unsolved Mysteries or Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction. And this host has been receiving these transmissions from somewhere, from beyond. And so it's every episode is a different transmission. So we have a great lineup of found footage and analog horror filmmakers, which I just want to give a shout out to found footage right now, because it's some of the most exciting, interesting, unique movies are being made right now with just pure creativity, not a big budget. And I got to say, we're here doing Frogman Returns. Brian's in a movie that's premiering at Tribeca called Man Finds Tape.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Chelsey is becoming the queen of found footage, right?
Got asked to do another one next month in South Dakota, in parts of the Badlands. So I'll be.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now every time a director reaches out, they're like, "Hey, are you going to be mad if I ask if it's found footage?" And it's like, no, there's something so viscerally wonderful and weird and real about found footage compared to everything else. I think once you try it, you're a little bit hooked, and it's kind of. I don't know. There's something, like you said, Stephen, it's kind of getting a wonderful resurgence. And I think there's a lot of interesting things to explore as an actor with characters in that environment.
Very cool. That all sounds really exciting. Congratulations to all of you on all of these upcoming projects. So thank you so much for spending some time with us and answering questions. And I hope we will see you at chat or in the Discord.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.